Hello all, I'm here back with a new module, a new session. Hope you've been seeing all the videos and I hope it has been helping you all. Looking forward to bring in new modules and new presentations. Continue seeing this and I'm very sure it is going to make a difference in your approach for interviews and the way you can look forward for success in life. The main intentions of coming up with all these things is that to make sure that the younger generation is well equipped before they approach interviews. Today the topic that we're going to discuss is called conflict management. Now, two different words, conflict and management. Now, how do we manage conflict? Today we live in a world where we have to manage all these things which could have been naturally stopped. But unfortunately, in this fast-paced world, we are going through a lot of different things. We are exposed to a lot of different things. We have to face a lot of different things. And for this, management is very necessary. So let's break the words and look at the first word only to begin with. What is conflict? Now, conflict is a disagreement or an argument between two parties, normally an extended one. Or say about, let's call typically a protracted one. Now, how do we understand this conflict? Or what is it that we're going to, how are we going to manage this conflict? Or how conflicts makes a differences? Or what are the strategies that we can use over there to come up with this? That's a whole module that's going to be. I think we're going to have 3, 4, 5 videos. However, I suggest that you look at every one of them such that you get a complete idea about how to manage this particular thing called conflict. No, conflict as a conflict. Conflict is stuff of life. We cannot ignore it. Now, friction or opposition resulting between the result between the two parties or an actual perceived thoughts between two parties, this is where conflict comes to. Conflict comes from differences in needs, values and motivations. Now, disagreement do not have to swell into something that is unmanageable, or two parties don't have to get into a mode where they have to get into a problematic situation which cannot be solved or which cannot be managed. Now, that is called conflict. And how we going to manage things is the whole process of conflict management. We are all different people. We have different opinions, wants and needs. So how we going to manage these things is how the whole part of management comes into existence. Conflict management has got two types. Basically, everything falls into them. The first one is called as intrapersonal conflict and the second is called as interpersonal conflict. Now, like how the prefix is making a difference to the suffix. Anyways, now when we speak about intrapersonal conflict, it is something to do with within ourselves, the doubts that swell into me. And the second is interpersonal conflict, where it is between two or between one and many. So we'll go more into this discussion and understand as we go further. You will understand what are the types of conflict and how it makes a difference. And as you listen out, please also observe the slides that has come through, and these slides will help you understand how you can see the difference between the two and also how you can manage them better. Intrapersonal conflict. Intrapersonal conflict occurs because of your own thoughts, arises because of your emotions, arises because of the ideas, values that we have for ourselves. It is a struggle between what I want and what I should do. I hope you understood this. It's a struggle between what I want to do and what I should do. When there is a difference of opinion in my head between these 2 points is when intra-conflict happens. Now also, let us think a little more broadly. The mind and the heart, if they are in line, there's no conflict. But only when they are not in line, they are not in sync, wherein the mind is telling you something and the heart is going about with something else. We know in many situations we see that I don't want to do this, but it is fantastic. Let me say a recent example I heard. It says about it that all those things that which is very tasteful and attractive or bad when you eat them, all those things that look normal, not very good looking, or let's say not very fancy looking, not attractive, or the best thing for your health. Now here is where the first part, the best thing is what the mind is telling you to do. And the heart is looking at the attractive thing. Now here, between the fight between these two, that is the brain and the heart, is where intrapersonal conflict happens. Interpersonal conflict. A conflict that arises when there is a disagreement between two people or one and many people is called interpersonal conflict. An argument between a married couple, or an argument between two students, an argument between two professionals, when they are not in line with each other's thought process, interpersonal conflict arises. This could be physical, this could be emotional, this could be personal, this could be professional. Anyways, when there is a disagreement between two people, two individuals, we call it as interpersonal conflict. Now, interpersonal conflict is something that is quite regular with everybody. Two people, there's one guy, a driver going by himself, and suddenly a bike swash and there is a disagreement about how the usage of road, how driving should be there. Everybody becomes judgmental. Interpersonal conflict starts. Now, whenever I become judgmental about other, obviously interpersonal conflict starts. Reasons for why conflict occurs. I would suggest you all that you pause the video and see the screen, read through what has been written. I'll also mention some of them while I explain them. Now, first, one of the most important reasons about why a conflict will occur is because we end up making assumptions or being judgmental. Okay, or when there is miscommunication, let's call it poor communication between two or one to many. A boss communicating to his employees, or a student communicating to his fellow student, or it could be a professor to a student to a professor, a man to wife, father to son, whatever. When there is miscommunication or poor communication, conflict definitely occurs. Third reason about why conflict will occur is when there is ignorance of something and we don't have the habit of telling a no or I don't know. So obviously that's also another reason about why conflict happens, because I am making assumption because of my ignorance. The next would be that we are not ready to accept others' point of view or compromise on our thought process, or a compromise on my capabilities of thinking. So that's another reason about why conflict occurs. When my needs are not met, okay, when I have an expectation and it's not met, or I'm expecting somebody to do something, it's not met, conflict occurs. It could be as simple as I'm sitting in a restaurant and the waiter served food to another table faster than me, though I ordered before it. Conflict occurs. If I did not understand that food was faster to make and it was there, it was ready made, it was given before, or my food had to be specially done, that's why I did not stop, conflict occurs. He doesn't give a proper explanation, conflict occurs. When I have prejudice about something, I already have a mindset telling this is how things should be. If those things happens, obviously conflict occurs, because I am not ready to change my mindset about it. Being prejudiced, I am not able to change that process. So conflict occurs because others need not have to go along with me or my thought process. The next would be about I am interested in something, and because of my self-interest in that, I am adamantly telling what I want and how this has to happen, which is not interest with the team that was working together or another person staying with me. So obviously conflict occurs. Then there is another thing where there is complete intolerance. When somebody is being very sarcastic, somebody is being very rude out to me because I'm not doing about it, and they're being intolerable, and I don't accept that. Why should I accept this aggressiveness from somebody else? So obviously conflict occurs. The next one, the last but one, is when there is lack of empathy. When somebody doesn't understand my sorrow or pain. I have this big thinking that telling about it, okay, you're always putting yourself or self-interest moving out in the front. You're not thinking about me. Obviously, that's also when conflict occurs. This normally is seen in families and married couple. The last one, or one of the most powerful, I should say, the desire of power. When I have all these things, I have lack of empathy, I am intolerant, I do not see that the others' needs are met, or I lack compromise. At this juncture, when I have this strong desire of power, obviously there's going to be a lot of conflict that will arise. So we should be careful about how we can handle this kind of situations, or how we have to be able to understand that these are the main reasons about why conflict occurs.